Hello, it's 10 Years of TAW. It's John Gibbons hosting. I'm joined by Josh Sexton. And the purpose of these videos is to talk a little bit about the fact the Anfield Wrap's been going for 10 years. So I'm going to grab some of the people who've been involved, some of whom from the start, some of whom friends we picked up along the way, and talk through some of their highlights in images, but using the images as a bit of a jumping off point, really. So I'm sure there'll be some good stories that come out of this, some good tales of trips away or times here that have been fun and games as well. And yeah, just to give you a little bit of a flavour of what we've been up to all this time, for our parents as much as anything, so they can see what we've been doing. You looking forward to it, Josh?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be like an IRL time hop. Every time I get like a memory on time hop, I usually send it to like you or Craig or something of something daft that's happened, and then sort of have to like relive all the bad jokes we made along the way. So I'm sure this will be exactly what this is. So enjoy it. Enjoy our bad jokes.
Enjoy our bad jokes indeed. Okay, let's start. So this is Josh. Talking Reds from June 14th, 2016. So this is, I'm informed by me on the video, your very first week at the Anfield Wrap, and you're straight on. And look at how you're looking at me already, mate.
Yeah, that is the look of love, isn't it? Get someone who looks at John. Get someone who looks at you the way I look at John. I actually remember this, funnily enough, because it's an example that I use quite a lot, particularly for when sort of new people come on to shows and when we have work experience people in who come on content and stuff, because I sort of say that, you know, even though I host the team talk and do an extremely good job of it now, it wasn't always this way. This was my first video ever, my first, I think, any piece of content for the Anfield Wrap ever, and I was incredibly nervous, and you can tell in the amount of detail that I add into everything I say, because it's not very much. And I also remember talking about there was an Arsenal player who was going to play for Arsenal in a pre-season game as well, and I remember you basically being like, I don't know who he is, so you talk about him, and I was like, I don't really know who he is either, so now I have to talk about him. That's the beauty of the Anfield Wrap, is that you can blag it along the way.
It's a nice thing, I think, about tour, though, that, you know, once you're involved, like, you're in at the deep end, really, aren't you? And you know, that could be sort of a bit nerve-wracking, but I think ultimately it's a good thing that, you know, we will just sort of throw people in and give people a go and give people experiences, I guess.
Yeah, it's always been the way, really, hasn't it, with the Anfield Wrap? Like, I remember us sort of talking at the start of this video. It's weird how, like, vivid detail I remember it in.
Yeah.
But, like, we were talking about, like, playing ping pong and stuff, because that's basically the main contribution I'd had to the office so far, was just that I'd got quite good at ping pong from Batter and Sam, usually. So, yeah, it is a nice thing about the Anfield Wrap. Like, I mentioned the work experience people and stuff there. Like, we've had Connell in on work experience this week, has been filming this, and he's been, like, straight in on the hot mics. I think you've got him doing another show today. That never underestimate Anfield Wrap's power to get young people on content when they come to work for us. But no, it is nice, because look, it gives people their big break, and the Anfield Wrap gave me mine. So this was obviously the start of the journey.
And that's in Exchange Flags, which is where we were when you sort of came, and nice memories from there as well, where we were sharing with Red Touch, and it was good fun.
Yeah, it was a mad setup, really, wasn't it? Like, when we first got in there, they were basically building like a kitchen or like a kitchenette sort of thing into the office, but before that was there, we didn't really have anything. So, like, whenever we were making brews and stuff, we just had a kettle which sat on the side. You had to go to the bathroom to wash the mugs and everything. Right, those were the halcyon days of making brews at the Anfield Wrap, when you walk into the bogs with about 8 mugs and a bottle of fairy liquid.
Not all glamour. Okay, I couldn't do 10 years of tour for you, Josh, without Kenny, who's madly your best mate, and no one saw it coming. Did you see it coming?
I didn't, to be honest. No, I think, like, part of the strange thing about mine and Kenny's, like, almost friendship as it has become, is that it started off on not great terms, to be honest. So there was I think Kenny was doing some, like, press at the Titanic Hotel, and I'd gone down with Sam because we were filming something for the Anfield Wrap. And before, I'd, like, asked you, like, if there's any questions you think I should ask and things like that. And a few people were like, you know, some questions about, like, the Glasgow derby compared to the Merseyside derby. And Robbo said to me, he's like, you should ask about, like, the aftermath of Hillsborough and things like that. So I was like, well, what could I ask about that? Like, it's a bit moody, isn't it? To almost talk about that. And then basically the question that I settled on in my sort of youthful exuberance was asking Kenny about his mental health in the aftermath of Hillsborough. And when I did, he was sort of very dismissive. He was like, no mental health issues. 'Cause obviously, I think to his generation, it was seen as a big weakness. But I think, to be honest, like, as much as he was dismissive and almost treated the question negatively, I think weirdly it made him garner some respect for me. So then the next time he saw me, he was just really nice, and he'd probably gone away and thought about it as well, to be honest, because I don't know how many people have like put it on his toes like that until a lad who looks about 12 had done it. So I think he probably liked that and respected that. And then yeah, ever since he just occasionally like messages me and rings me out the blue, which is still mad to this day that Kenny Dalglish could ever just ring or message me out the blue, and will just sometimes ask me random tech questions or random Liverpool questions or something to do with the Anfield Wrap. So yeah, I love it, and I love him as well.
That's absolutely mad. Yeah, I think as well. I always remember after we won in Madrid and the party there, and Kenny being there, and Neil going up to speak to him and said, "Oh, you know, I do the Anfield Wrap." He's like, "Oh, I love Josh." Like, what a fella. So
not the rest of him.
Neil's in with Kenny as to say he knows Josh Sexton. So there we are. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, and it's you and Jeannie, and it was a boss tour, boss time, and obviously the access we get, you know, on these tours are brilliant. And this was the first big tour you did with us, wasn't it?
Yeah, this day itself was just unreal. The tour as a whole, really, like I've always wanted to go to America and travel over there. Obviously, as a big sort of basketball fan and things like that, it's always been a place which has really interested me. And yeah, this day in particular was just like, whenever someone comes up to me and talks to me about the Anfield Wrap, they're always like, "Oh, boss, that must be a dream job," and like it absolutely is. There's obviously days where it does feel like work, but there's some days where like there's just nothing in the world that tops it. And this was one of those days. Like we'd gone to a hotel in Boston to interview Jurgen Klopp in the morning, so like I was sending pictures of all us lads and Jurgen Klopp to all my mates in the morning. We'd gone away to like, edit the video, come back to Fenway Park for this training session, and then like all the players there, and we're doing mix zone. Got to speak to Gino Wijnaldum, obviously as a picture suggestive, Okarigi, Rian Brewster, who had said to you as a promise before the tour I was going to try and make best friends with. Didn't quite get there, but we'll blame Rian instead of me for that. And then like once I was speaking to Genie, Fuad was stood next to me with the camera, and he goes, "You're going to love me," and I was like, "Why?" And then he's turned the camera around and showed me this picture, and it's boss. It just makes me so happy every time I see it, and just takes me back to a very happy place and a happy time.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jurgen interview there. I saw a nice picture of us all there. Yeah, he was great on the day, wasn't he? Always sort of is with us, but you know, a real buzz waiting for him to come in, and then he's just everything you expect, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. He's everything you want a Liverpool manager to be, and so much more. To be honest, he's just a, you know, to sort of coin a term from Brendan Rodgers, which we all use to skit him in a way. Jurgen Klopp is just a beautiful human being, and this morning was just mad, wasn't it? It's sort of one of the mad things which occasionally happens at the Anfield Wrap in a good way, is that we get these things dropped on us quite last minute, and this was literally a text in the morning. We probably all woke up with a hungover in our Boston Airbnb, and Matt McCann, the press officer, is saying, you know, "You've got Jurgen, come to the team hotel at X time." So we've all got up. We've managed to get Fuad out of bed as well, which is good to see. And then yeah, we've got down there and interviewed Jurgen. It was mad, to be honest, because you get down there and you're preparing so much to be in a sort of work mode, that when Jurgen actually walks in the door and shakes your hand, you're almost like, it's like an out of body experience, really, because you don't sort of, doesn't chime with you. You're shaking hands to Liverpool manager. But as I said, after I got some. I got some good like jealousy from my mates of sending it around in group chats and stuff and being like, "Guess where I've been this morning." So that's a good thing.
It's not bad, is it? And then this is literally about a week later. We came back, landed back, and we did the Trent mural, and you were given the job of going to get him.
Yeah. So we basically had him like parked down Anfield Road, because what we wanted him to pull up by Anfield, and then we'd start filming him, and then he was going to walk up the road and sort of obviously slowly reveal the Trent mural as he walks through. And as John says, I was tasked with the job of walking down to his car and like greeting him and his brother, and then like bringing him up. And it was, to be honest, I didn't even realise that sort of there would be pictures taken and things like that. So like, as usually I don't wear my glasses in pictures, as you can see from this video now. So I'm walking up, and then Dave, propaganda photos, steps out and starts papping me and my best friend just in our sort of natural habitat there. So no, that summer was just a boss summer for sort of meeting the footballers, and particularly if you're somebody, you know, I suppose this is the same for all sort of young Liverpool fans growing up who has idolised so many of the Liverpool footballers growing up, and then this team in particular, who, you know, had won the Champions League that summer, would obviously go on to win the league and start the season 26 from 26. So to meet so many of them over the summer And then to meet Trent in a sort of more intimate setting as well was just unreal, and he was absolutely made up, wasn't he?
He was made up. I was going to say that because, this was, one of the first murals that they're on every corner in Anfield now, but I don't think he was quite expecting anyone to do that at this stage of his career, and that we did. And he was just like going, what a lot, which is a Boscouse word anyway, but because it's so...
It's mazzy.
It is though, isn't it? It's so big, and he was genuinely like, he was a bit lost for words with it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I was watching there was a bit, I had clips from like the Wingmen documentary that he'd done with Andy Robertson the other day, and for some reason it'd come up in my time hop, to be honest, as I said before, and that I had like saved the video on a certain day. And him and Robertson are sat there talking about it, and like Robertson saying the first time the team bus came past and stuff, like you should have seen the smile on his face, and you should have seen the way he was talking about it and stuff. And that's a boss feeling for us as a whole, isn't it? Is that we get to have that impact on a footballer who has given us so much as well. So it was sort of nice to give that back to him.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll move on to this one. I could have picked quite a few of these trips that we do away. It's not a bad couple of days in work, is it, when you get to go on a European away with all your mates? So we've had some good ones. This is from Munich, obviously. There's been quite a few others where you've sort of been part of the team. And it's hard work, and to be fair, you work harder than most. You've got sort of a lot to do when we're away in terms of, your actual job and things like that. But, it's worth it for moments like this.
Absolutely, yeah. This was my favourite European away by some
I'm
distance.
glad I picked it.
By some distance, to be honest. In terms of the way the match went, obviously, and like the way Liverpool played and the goals Liverpool scored, like you never, when you go through watching, the Roy Hodgson teams and things like that, you wonder whether you're ever going to get these moments ever again that, your dads and granddads and generations before talk about so much in the sort of halcyon days of supporting Liverpool, and then to actually be here sort of witnessing that moment, and then just everything around the trip as well. The whole trip was just boss, wasn't it? Like flying into it, was it Nuremberg I think we flew into, and then like got the train over to Munich. On the way back we like drove to Prague and flew back from there, so like getting to see all these different boss places. And then Munich, there was just so many Scousers and so many Reds out there, and like the beer halls, like just everything around a sort of German away trip that you'd think would be like the classics and the trademarks of it. This had every bit of it, and obviously the Reds absolutely battered them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an absolutely brilliant trip. Okay. Got to talk about the buses. You've done two. This is the one to Kiev, the original. The beast is behind. I mean, what a lineup of people, by the way. You got yourself there in the shades looking all cool, down low with Craig, Joe Campbell, who was just amazing value on that trip. Obviously, Dan Austin, he's done both of them. And then me, a couple of Bobbos, mates there, Gary Bones and John Jones. Obviously, Neil, Sean Walsh with shorter hair, which looks sort of mad. And then, yeah, got the big dog, Ian Ryan, Robbo himself. So, yeah, I mean, just talk about these buses.
We all look like well men at this point, so that's how you know that it's probably somewhere around Belgium or France on this trip, because the buses are... They're unreal, because they do exactly the job they're supposed to do in terms of literally getting you to the stadium, but also, the camaraderie and stuff, and like everything that goes on it. Like you basically going through days and nights, so you'll wake up in the morning, you're just like, sat there having a chat with your mates, you're having a bevy at night, and then you're either going to sleep on the bus or going to sleep in a hotel. On the Kiev trip, it was definitely going to sleep on the bus, because we'd really overestimated how quickly we could get to places, hadn't we, when the bus had like a limited speed. So we were all broken men by the end, but it was so worth it for just that Kiev trip as a whole, to be honest. Like everything that came with it. I know the Reds ended up losing, but the Kiev trip is absolutely boss. And as you say, there was just so many good moments, and I could just pick like a moment from each individual who's on that picture and like remember a good moment with them. And Joe Campbell might be the MVP who takes home the award there, but just so many good memories on that trip, and going to watch the Reds in a Champions League final as well.
Do you mean Joe Salah?
Joe Salah. Shall I explain the Joe Salah story? Yeah. So we were in our hotel in Berlin. It was probably Berlin was actually probably the only place we reached on time.
Yeah, we actually got a proper stay.
Yeah, and we'd sort of gone out to a few bars, but we were all like a bit tired. It was quite early in the trip. We didn't want to sort of overextend ourselves at this point. But nobody had told Joe Campbell that at this stage, because he very much was looking to extend himself into the Berlin evening. We tried to get into a club, but they've got like mad rules around British people getting into clubs over there, which I don't dispute at all. But so we ended up just going back to the hotel bar, and I think we'd all just been drinking beers, but Joe had been on the wine, so Joe was sort of further along the line than we were, it's fair to say. And in this very quiet hotel bar with me, Craig, probably Sean, I think Charlotte, and then Joe. Joe was holding a bottle of wine, just singing at the top of his voice, Joe Salah, Joe Salah. and then he was staying in the room with me, and I couldn't wake him up the next morning. So joke was on me in the end. This pitch is so good. Oh, this is after Madrid, of course, and it was weird, like the sort of the going home of the Madrid trip, because the Reds had just won the Champions League. But you'll know as well, John, that like going to a Champions League final and the whole experience around the day, it's so draining. Like people always say to you, "What did you do in the aftermath?" And like especially the emotion of winning it. After it, you almost just want to go to bed. Like you feel like you can't celebrate because you've expended all your energy on stressing in the day, partying in the day, obviously, stressing during the game and things like that. So then when the Reds actually won it, I think I'd cried for about 45 minutes straight, and pretty much to the point of complete dehydration until I had no tears left to cry, in the words of Ariana Grande. And then we woke up in La Rochelle that morning, and obviously seeing all the things of the bus tour coming back, and we basically, I think it was yours and Neil's bags, wasn't it, that we accidentally left in the hotel in La Rochelle. So we got about an hour and a half away from La Rochelle, and then realised we had to turn back around. So basically had an extra 3 hours onto this, what was already going to be a long trip home. But we'd picked up Timo along the way. You can barely see Timo in the picture. He's just behind Dan Austin's left shoulder. And Timo was just such a good addition. He helped my mental health so much on the way home. And this was one of such moments. We'd arrived at this sort of services, and Timo walks through, and he sort of like he'd been walking around just being Timo and being a bit mischievous, and he came in, he was like, lads, there's a photo opportunity out here, there's a double-decker red bus, and it was just in the kids play area, and there was a few kids in the play area, but then we all just like bounced over, jumped on this double-decker bus, and then yeah, this is the classic picture. I think it ends up getting photoshopped into the actual parade picture as well, which just absolutely killed me. So yeah, what a moment. We got our own parade in the end.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was talking about.
This is from Madrid. What I really liked was, I'm not on this picture, but we all watched it together, and I did all watch it with you. And it's actually quite rare, me and you watch a game together, but any of us sort of watch a game. I don't watch loads with Neil, do you know what I mean, or Craig, or we're all sort of dotted in different parts of the ground. Normally then for the aways, there might be in 2s or 3s, but for whatever reason, it was a big Anfield Wrap mob for this one, and it felt right to me because we've been, literally on this big long journey on the bus, but also, obviously we were all sort of gearing up to this, and I loved that we were all together for that final, and a few boys cried.
Yeah, there was a lot of cryy boys, John Gibbons cryy boys, as you can see in this picture. Pretty much like everyone is obviously wearing a smile because the Reds have just won the European Cup. But like, I mean, look at Neil. Neil is in some emotional state there. You can see a
glass cage of emotion.
Exactly. Yeah, me and Craig have definitely been having a cry there as well. Dan Morgan, I reckon, has been having a little cry. I remember Dan and Neil late on into the game sort of talking each other through the minutes, and that sends me mad, to be honest, because as much as they're obsessed with the time, I don't want to hear what the time is. I'd rather just let it tick away. But then obviously once Divock Origi scores, it's just pandemonium from there anyway. And this was sort of capturing the moments after. And like you say, this is one of the best things about the Anfield Wrap job, like, is the fact that you get to go to the match with your mates and you sort of get to share these moments with them. But this is just like a boss mix of people who aren't all Anfield Wrap either. So this is Josh Edgar on the far right of our screen as I'm looking at it, who's a good friend of Dan Morgan's. Me and Dan Austin met him on a West Brom away trip and went on a big night out after that. There's like so many sort of different stories that being a part of the Anfield Wrap has brought to my life, and this has to rank up there as one of the absolute best. Okay,
last one. Just a nice little office AFQ. A few we've lost along the way. Obviously, Lizzie's gone off to the BBC. Sean, who was your little Bezzy, has moved on as well. But it's just a nice place to work, isn't it? And this is a nice little thumbs up from Josh. And I'm obviously delighted sort of you've come on board with us. But doing these little things like office AFQs where we just sort of have a scream, and this is more like the day-to-day really. I just want to end on a kind of a typical, a bit more typical scene. There's a bit too much drinking going on. There's, plenty of smiles and laughs and red hot content.
Yeah, I'm pleased you've chosen this, to be honest, because this almost sort of brings it full circle for me from that first Talking Reds is any of the office AFQs we do. I think people would notice, because I'm very aware of it, is that I get a lot louder on them, but it's just because I'm so comfortable with the people I'm with, and me and Sean are sharing a mic there, and obviously me and Sean always sort of like had a good relationship in the office. There was always friendly, competitive rivalry between us in whatever we were playing, whether it was chess, ping pong, or anything. And Sean was rubbish at ping pong, so he decided that sport was wool, so I could be the king of that then. But yeah, these office AFQs are just boss, and it reminds you of all the good people you do work with and the good times I've had as well, because obviously a lot of the questions that the boss subscribers and viewers and listeners send in is sort of centred around the office, and it gets you to bring up nice moments like we've got to do here today, obviously. And you know, Rob in the corner of the picture there as well, he's obviously a huge part of the Anfield Wrap, but he's not here day to day in the office, so to have him come and be a part of it, even if he does go home at 8 p.m, is really nice. And then we get to go and have a boss night out after as well, and usually celebrate what's been a really good year for the Anfield Wrap. So, you know, I couldn't have chosen a better place to work, really, and better people to work with. It's genuinely been the best 5 years of my life.
Oh, I love you, man.
Love you too.
Come on, boss.